Welcome, and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are on a listen-only mode. During the question-and-answer session, please press star 1. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to Congresswoman Susan Del-Benet. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is Susan Del-Benet, and I apologize for some of the technical challenges we had getting up and running. And I hope you all didn't mind waiting a few minutes there. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to discuss the recently enacted Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, what is referred to as the CARES Act. It was the third emergency COVID-19 response bill that we passed in Congress, and by far a historic piece of legislation, $2 trillion. And many resources available to small businesses to help in our state. I'm joined today by Jeremy Field. He is the Regional Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. He covers Washington State. And so I just want to thank him for being here. And he's an important resource and can give answers to many of your questions. At any point in the conversation, if you do have a question, just press star 1, and then you'll get in the queue. I know this is an incredibly difficult time in our community, and especially small business owners whose foot traffic and customer base have dried up at such an alarming pace. And literally, this came out of nowhere, so folks weren't prepared. I speak to constituents daily, and many employers are wondering how they're going to keep their doors open, if this goes on too much longer, or be able to reopen their doors. I want you to know that I'm working very hard on this. My priorities are making sure that we do everything to help families, workers, and our small businesses through this trying time, and to help get our healthcare system the resources it needs to save lives. And I'll continue to keep those priorities front and center as we work on continuing legislation in Congress. The CARES Act contains a number of provisions to help small businesses and workers here in Washington. So I want to highlight a few programs in the law that are most likely of interest to all of you on this call. The first is the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. It provides cash flow assistance for up to 8 weeks of average payroll and other costs, which will be forgiven if the business retains employees, maintains salaries, and spends 75% of these funds on payroll expenses. These loans are offered through a variety of financial institutions, including in banks and community banks, and some are coming online now. And so we can talk about the Paycheck Protection Program and questions you have about that. Also, there is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL. These are offered through the Small Business Administration for up to $2 million and can be used to pay debts, payroll, and other bills that cannot be paid because of resulting from this outbreak. These loans are not forgivable, but the timeline for repayment is more flexible with a maximum of 30 years. Then there is the Emergency Economic Injury Grant. These provide $10,000 to small businesses and nonprofits that apply for the EIDL, the Emergency or the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, within 3 days. Even if you're denied the loan eventually, this grant is still available to you and does not need to be repaid. Then we also have the Employee Retention Credit that encourages businesses that have been financially impacted by COVID-19 to keep employees on payroll by providing a refundable tax credit of 50% up to $10,000 in wages per employee. This program is not available to businesses that qualify for paycheck protection. Just keep that in mind. I know this law is complex, so to help navigate these programs, my office put out a series of resource guides, including one that's specific to small businesses. And so you can find that at my website, which is delbene.house.gov under the COVID-19 tab. And while we're talking about relief, it's also important to talk about fraud prevention. Scammers are out there and already trying to take advantage of people who have been applying for these benefits. So please use trusted sources and official websites to make sure your information is safe and your business's information is safe. Again, I want to say that while the discussion today and the guides on my website are meant to help you navigate this process, you should not consider any of this financial advice. Every business is different and has to take different factors into account when making important decisions like these. And so we'll try to point you to other resources that might be helpful based on your questions. A quick reminder, again, to press *1 to ask a question. And with that, I want to let Jeremy from the Small Business Administration make a few opening remarks before we open up for your questions. So please, Jeremy.
Thank you, Congresswoman. It's a pleasure to be here today. I want to let you know that the SBA is committed to helping small businesses recover from the economic impact of COVID-19. As the Congresswoman has said, this is a very difficult time for many small businesses. And the SBA is here to help you with several funding options to help you get through this hard time. The first is the Paycheck Protection Program, which the Congresswoman and many of her colleagues got through not this Friday, but the last. And, those loans started going out just this last Friday. The Paycheck Protection Program has a cap of $10 million per small business, and 75% of it must go to hiring or to the payroll of your employees. The PPP asks that you hire back 100% of your employees to get the full refund, and only 25% of the loan can go to either your lease mortgage, or utilities. But as long as you meet those requirements, you can have your loan forgiven. And it's just a 1% interest rate. So great program, and we'll talk more about it. Another option you have is an EIDL loan. That's an economic injury disaster loan. They have been capped at $2 million, but today apparently we may be lowering the up to $2 million mark. So stay tuned for that. Things are constantly fluid, and we're just trying to keep up with it. But those are great loans as well. They can go up to 30 years with an interest rate of 3.75 for small businesses and 2.75 for nonprofit organizations. So you can really stretch out the length of the loan to make those monthly payments very de minimis. And those are the standard loans we use for our traditional disasters, tornadoes and hurricanes, and what happened in Houston and Puerto Rico and other places. So that's a great loan option. We also have an economic injury disaster loan advance, and that's where you can be awarded a $10,000 loan forgiveness as well. It's $1,000 per employee up to $10,000, but again, that can be considered a forgivable loan, and a lot of people are checking the box when they apply for an EIDL loan to automatically apply for the disaster loan. So we also have debt relief. If you're an existing client of the SBA is going to cover your principal, interest, and fees on all current and new SBA 7 loans made through September 27, 2020 for up to 6 months. So that means the SBA is paying your bill, essentially, for the money you borrowed through our 7A program. And finally, we have an express loan. And currently, the express loans help you get access to up to $25,000 very quickly. These express loans are kind of to help you bridge between loans when you're, looking for the money you need right now. And so we can talk more about all this, but basically, those are our financing options. But what I want to tell you is, the SBA is a wonderful agency to work for. We help businesses to start, to grow, expand. And now everyone knows we help businesses to recover from disasters. So because of the nature of this pandemic, we've never had to ramp up like this before. We are a very dependable tugboat. We do our jobs very well. But this is a job that has required an aircraft carrier. And the first loan we had out were the disaster loans. The states came online for that disaster declaration. It took us 2 weeks to get ramped up. We parked the tugboat, and now we're using an aircraft carrier, which is what this demands. And for the PPP loans that came out, just over a week ago, we are still building that aircraft carrier to help our lenders. because the payroll protection program, of course, is what you do. You go through the banks. And so we have a portal for banks that connect with our guaranteed loan services. And long story short, it's the pipeline is still only so big, and we're expanding that pipeline. We're making that tugboat and putting them aside and building our aircraft carriers so that those services can move as quickly as our disaster loans. At first, the disaster loans were really clunky. Now we can process 2,000 disaster loans in 1 second, and no one's having a hard time applying. So all the efficiencies we brought to disaster loans are currently being brought up to our lenders so they can quickly access our systems for the Paycheck Protection Program. So I really appreciate, I just want to say, first of all, I appreciate your patience. I know how difficult this has been. We are not going to be satisfied until our clients are satisfied. And now our clients is, for this purpose, it always has been every business in the United States of America, but now there are just so many that need loans. And we are working overtime, sleepless nights to bring those services up to the par we need to have them at for this crisis. And so with that, I'll turn the time back over to the Congresswoman.
Thank you so much. There's a few things we can also talk about, but I want to open up for questions and make sure we're covering the things that are most important to all of you on the line. So, operator, can we have the first question, please? And remember, if you have a question, press *1.
And again, as a reminder, if you, like the Congresswoman said, if you do have a question, please press *1 and record your name when prompted. Again, please press *1. To withdraw your request, please press *2. One moment. We do have a question. Diana Stevens, your line is now open.
Hey, Google.
Your line is open.
Hello?
Yes, your line is open.
Hello? Oh, is it Diana? Is that who's supposed to be on the line?
Yes.
Hello? Go ahead.
Your line is open.
Thank you. Parkland, and we are applying through our business for the. They're asking for qualifications. It's my understanding that the CARES Act
Diana,
are supposed to.
I'm not getting. You're kind of coming in partially. Can you try again? Your line is skipping.
Sorry about that.
If you're on like a headphone or a speakerphone, can you pick up the phone maybe? That would help.
Sorry about that. Is it better at all?
Yeah, that's better.
Much better.
Small nonprofit school.
Yeah. Maybe not. We're still only getting you partially.
I'm going to go ahead and take the next question.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Kevin Oaks, your line is open.
Hi, this is Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Okay, so actually, I don't want to draw this out too much, but I've got a lot of confusion around this. I'll tell a little bit of a timeline here. Because things seem to change every single day. Last week, I tried to go onto the SBA site to apply for an EIDL loan. The first time I went on, it was an online form, so I went through, I filled out, started filling out all the forms, realized I needed more financial information, so I talked to my bookkeeper to gather that. So he gathered that up, got that back to me. The next day I went on to finish filling out those forms, and now it was no longer an online form. It was a download these forms and fill them out and then upload them. So I spent the rest of the day downloading those forms, filling out all those forms with the anticipation of uploading those forms plus all my financials. Went to do that the next day, and now that option had disappeared entirely. And it looked like I was sent to this EIDL loan advance, which for the $10,000 advance, which I did fill out, was a very simplistic form, didn't allow me to upload any of my financial information that I had spent 2 days gathering, which I got a confirmation back on, but I don't know if I'm in the pipeline for a loan or just the advance or what's going on with that. I have no idea if there's anything else I need to do. So I'm just a little bit confused here as to what process I'm supposed to be following here.
No, that's a really good question. Did you submit your EIDL loan prior to March 30th?
Say again?
Okay. Did you submit your COVID EIDL loan, the IDA loan, prior to March 30th?
I was trying to, but I think that's when I got when I realized I didn't have all the information together. Contact my bookkeeper to get make sure I had all the information. Let me look for the date.
I'm clear now. Let me, just in the interest of time, everyone who applied prior to March 30th needs to reapply through the streamlined process. It'll take you 5 minutes. We have really simplified it. I realize we realize how frustrating that is, especially for the people that applied before March 30th and experienced our tugboat trying to do what an aircraft carrier should. But literally, if you get online today, reapply since you applied before March 30th, and you'll be amazed by how much easier it is. It should take you 5 to 6 minutes to apply. You'll receive that notification.
And I think that's what I've done because it has the check mark for the EIDL loan advance. Good. And they're really quick and simple form. But that's what I'm saying is I don't know if I'm in the pipeline for just the advance or if they're going to send me an application for the additional forms.
Do you have a pen and paper with you right now?
Yes, I do.
If you are unsure if that application has been submitted, we have set up a call center for assistance, and that is 1-800-659-2955. And I'll repeat that, 1-800-659-2955, or you can email disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. disastercustomerservice@sba.gov. So those are the two links. If you've reapplied and you're still not sure, call or email, and we will get back to you to let you know if your application's been received and ready to be processed.
Okay, thank you very much. And what was the email again? Disaster Customer Service?
@sba.gov.
@sba.gov. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Farzam Shirazi, your line is open.
Hello. Thank you for letting me in. Well, I am a small business owner myself. I'm a property manager. My tenants, pay their rents, used to pay their rent on time, but because of the situation right now, they are not able to pay their rent anymore, on time. So what are your recommendations under these circumstances for my specific type of business? Do I have to still apply for a loan, or I have to proceed doing, something else?
You're still available for a PPP loan. You've been economically injured, and your salary will be determined by how much you gross from those loans. What salary you would pay yourself? Do you currently pay yourself as a salary on your properties?
No, I just get the rent and deposit it in my the account, and the business account, and but the way it works, they have to pay, for instance, every first of the month, but none of them have been able to do that because of the
Yeah. Well, this is definitely something within the PPP. You can certainly apply for an EIDL, but if you calculate what your salary would be in a given year based on those rents that you collect, then you can pay yourself that salary. Anyone can get that salary up to $100,000. That's the cap salary that you can give yourself under the PPP. But yeah, it's a simple calculation of this is how much money I made. If I had paid myself a salary, this is what it would have been because of these reasons. After my expenses, this is what I cleared for a salary. And that's what you can claim for under the PPP program, as well as your mortgage costs and your utilities for your businesses. So that will be a little more difficult for you if you have multiple properties, and that is more than 25% of your PPP loan. then maybe you need to apply for a disaster loan to cover the rest of that while things are getting back on their feet. But you do qualify for the PPP for the salary you would make, and you'll have to calculate what your salary would be, as well as 25% of that can be for mortgages and utilities. Interest on leases as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your advice.
Yeah, no problem.
Austin Beaver, your line is open.
Thank you. I'd like to say thanks to both of you as well for helping us all through this. I've got two questions, both around the EIDL loan. First, and I'll just rattle them both off and then let you answer here. First is, have they been releasing funds for those loans? And if so, do you know what the turnaround time is in processing those loans? And then my second question is, after applying for the EIDL, does that negate you from any other assistance that's currently out there? And I'm specifically thinking about the Express loan. Thanks.
Right. Great questions. Hearing that a lot. When we first started the disaster program, we were telling people 3 months for the loan to be processed and a week for those funds to be distributed. But thanks to our streamlined process, we expect that to be much quicker. And I can't tell you how much quicker. Today is the first day that we're going to start issuing payments for the disaster advance loans. So people that have applied for that maybe 3 or 5 days back, they are likely to start seeing those payments come in. Again, this is our first day, so every time we've tried something new, there have been hiccups, with the exception of the new EIDL portal that we created. That's been very smooth sailing. So we've been preparing for this, and we're hoping that it will run as well as the new EIDL portal for the disaster loans, but we'll see. But we expect that payments will start today. So that's a very good question. And the EIDL, if you apply for an EIDL loan, you will not be disqualified from participating in the Paycheck Protection Program. It's a problem called duplication of benefits in legislation. As long as you do not use your EIDL loan for using your Paycheck Protection Program for, there's not going to be an issue. So if you apply for the PPP, you pay yourself and your employees a salary, and only 25% of that is mortgage, lease, and utilities. That's all forgivable. And then you can apply for a disaster loan if equipment is broken down or you need something else to help you as we go through this crisis.
How did they factor the amounts for those EIDL loans?
Say again?
How did they factor the amounts for the loans?
The EIDL loans are all based on your need. You show why you need a certain amount of money.
Okay.
But it's up to, it was up to $10 million. We may be lowering the amount on that. And again, that's how fluid this is. And I'm sorry that that's not a great answer, but up to $2 million.
Up to $2 million.
Yeah, up to $10 million on the PPP. So
okay, thank you.
We'll see, but currently that's where we're sitting.
Our next question comes from Samantha St. John. Your line is open.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi. Thank you so much. So I am the CEO of a Chamber of Commerce, and as a leader in the business community, a lot of the businesses have been turning to us for what to do and for help with promotions for things that they're doing, and we're trying to get our community through this. One of the things that we are also facing is that we are not eligible as a 501c6 nonprofit for a lot of these programs, specifically the Paycheck Protection. So I'm a little worried that chambers across the country are going to find themselves going under because of this if we don't get any kind of relief soon. So my question is there any help coming for 501c6s anytime soon?
Well,
actually, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say this is probably an answer for the Congresswoman, so go for it.
So this issue has come up before, and so I know we are trying to address it because it came up on a call that I had with some other folks. So I will make sure to get you an answer because I'm not the only one who's struggling with this one.
Thank you.
Micah O'Malley, your line is now open.
Yes, my son 5 years ago, on the day he bought his second business and through an SBA loan, found out his cancer had returned, and he had extreme cancer treatment for a year, and at the end of that year, he lost both of his businesses. So is there anything in what you have described today that he can access, because what his bank says is that the SBA will never, ever loan to him again because he defaulted on a government loan, even though it was because of extreme cancer treatment? And then I have two other questions after that question. What can we do for him?
You know, for that first question, I need to do a little research. I don't know if you're disqualified from ever participating in an SBA program before because of a default. I think that would be based on his credit and the business plan, but I need to get you more information. So, if you wouldn't mind, could you give your email? Whoever brought this call in, is it possible to get her email so I can get her information afterwards?
Yeah, is there...
I've been talking to Rachel. Rachel, she has my email.
Good. We'll have Rachel follow up with you.
Rachel, it's Mary O'Malley. I'm calling for my son, and I deeply appreciate that because he is terrified of losing another business now, because in the state of Washington it's been closed for a long time. So then...
Mary, I just heard from Rachel. She says she has your info, so we'll make sure that we get that to the administrator.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. I really appreciate it. So, and you also said if he is denied the PPE, he can still get a $10,000 injury grant. Did I get that right?
Yeah, they're two different loans. They're two different loans. Each other. The PPP.
Okay.
This is the general rule. If you need to pay your mortgage, keep your lights on, and hire people back and pay everybody a salary, then you use the PPP.
That's what he wants. That's what he wants.
It's disastrous. That's the PPP. This is not about, the thing about this program is that it's not about, we're being asked by the Congress, the SBA is distributing funds through banks to small businesses to extend a social safety net so that people are taken care of while we're all doing the right thing, staying home, and trying to, not spread this disease to one another. And that has caused a giant economic injury to our country.
Right.
And that's what the point is of this legislation. So I'm going to get back to you on all that stuff.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So that he can still go to the SBA and apply for the injury grant while we're waiting to hear from you. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And he can get through that process in quick order through our disaster loan portal.
Okay. Then his other question is that, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I just said you go to sba.gov/disaster, and it'll get you to the hot links to apply, to make that application.
For the grant. Okay.
For the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the grant. So we'll get that going while we're waiting to hear from you. And then his question, he's really studied this, and we're both very confused. I just really appreciate this call today. So if he gets the PPP or PPE, and then so his employees are going on unemployment and doing the federal whatever, will they be limited? Will he be hurting his employees if he gets this money, and will they get less from the federal and from the state unemployment?
I don't know. You'll always have to look at the details. What I can tell you is the Payroll Protection Program wants employers to hire all their people back. You get a fraction of the money back forgiven if you only hire back a fraction of the people, unless those people have moved on to other employment, or they qualify. Maybe they got sick and they qualify for another program. So you hire all his people back. You give them their full salary, give them their health care benefits, and he'd pay his mortgage and his utility bills. And if he did all that, the loan would be forgiven.
Okay.
But
okay.
If you questions about the details, you call us at our SBA office. You can call our Small Business Development Centers, SBDCs. You can call our SCORE chapters. And you can call
SCORE chapters. I'm writing this down. Would you say before SCORE chapters, they will, what was the other one, the Small Business
Development Center.
Development, and I can find those telephone numbers on your website?
Yes, you can. Or if you just use your favorite search engine, you can probably type in Small Business Development Center and where you're from, and they'll get you to the closest branch.
Okay, great.
Jeremy, can you describe what a SCORE center is?
The SCORE centers are amazing. These are people that have, they have a small business, they have a small business, they're ex-executives. They want to help people avoid the pitfalls that they stepped in. And so, for example, we have the former CFO of the Seattle Supersonics. He retired in Moses Lake, and he helped a couple sisters buy their parents' insurance company and figure out that transition. He has an MBA from Stanford. One of the former vice presidents for Coca-Cola is one of our SCORE chapter. It's incredible talent. It's people that are amazing and want to give back, and I love that program. But all of our resource partners, our Small Business Development Centers, our SCORE chapters, our Women's Business Centers,
perfect.
They're there to help you with the details that you need looked at.
Thank you. So last question, is the EIDL is from SBA. Is the PPP, is that also from SBA? Is it, and so we need to wait to hear from you about that? It's
indirectly. The SBA has been given the funds for our 7A program, and that's our traditional loan packages that we give to small businesses to buy buildings or to get micro grants or whatever they need to get up off the ground or grow their business.
Yeah.
So we have $349 billion appropriated for that now. Through the banks, you just apply it to your bank, and the bank works with the SBA to get that loan processed, and then the bank
but the banks are telling him that they cannot do that for him because he defaulted on a government loan, even though it was because of extreme cancer treatment. So we have to wait to do anything on the PPP until we hear from you, correct?
You just get. I'm going to get your contact information, and I'm going to one of our.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Operator. Operator, do we have another question?
Hey, Google, question.
I just wanted to follow up while the operator is looking for another question. If you have a question, press star one. Jeremy, I wondered if you could talk a little bit about, there's been some concern, I know folks have had, that the Paycheck Protection Program would run out of money before people apply. Now, I know that there is still money in the system out there. I just wondered if you could comment on that.
It is a finite resource, and so it's very possible that it could expire. So what we're doing as the SBA is staying in constant communication with the White House and with our congressional leaders, like we have on our call, so that they understand the need that's out there and they can start planning accordingly. I think I missed some of your comments when I dropped, but luckily I got back.
No, and just so folks also know, we're looking into this at the congressional level too, and so there is conversation about potentially adding more resources. So definitely that should not be the concern that folks have right now. If you would benefit from the Paycheck Protection Program, definitely go and apply because the resources are available right now. I just wanted to, some folks had thought they were going to run out instantaneously, and I just wanted folks to know there's still resources available and to apply. But this is something at the congressional level. We also want to make sure that there's continued resources available going forward, and we'll keep that in mind. Operator, are there other questions? operator? I can't hear the operator if the operator's there.
Hey, Google, press.
While I'll still wait for the operator here, I'm going to ask another question I know that we've been asked by folks, which is, if a small business doesn't have an existing lending relationship with a commercial bank, how should they approach going to apply for a Paycheck Protection Program? Jeremy, do you have advice on that? Because we definitely heard from folks about feeling like they had to have a relationship, or some banks were only providing resources to people they had a previous relationship. And so I wonder if you could speak to that.
I'd be happy to. If you go to your favorite search engine again and type in eligible lenders Paycheck Protection Program, SBA. The website is kind of lengthy, but if you type in www.sba.gov/Paycheck Protection, you'll be able to find a link, Paycheck Protection after SBA.gov. You'll be able to find a link where you type in your zip code and you just hit enter, and it gives you all the lenders in your area that are participating currently in the Paycheck Protection Program. So that's the easiest tool to be able to find someone who would love to have your business.
I'm going to try and ask and see if the operator is there again. So I'm going to ask another question. I'm going through a list of questions we've received from constituents prior to this call. So I'm going to read some of these off so we can keep answering these, and we'll try to figure out what happened to our operator. We've had a lot of questions from people asking if they can apply for a Paycheck Protection Program if they've already laid off their employees. And I know that they can. Jeremy, is that something you could speak to as well?
Yeah, a lot of people listened to their HR professionals and said the most responsible thing I can do is lay off my people so they can apply for unemployment benefits. And a lot of small businesses did that. So Congress anticipated this, and in the bill that is now law, the only reference we have is it asks you to quickly rehire your people. And so that just means that when you get those, start talking to them after you've applied for the application, tell your people you've applied, that you want to hire them back, and you'll be able to provide them a salary and their health care benefits and all that in short order. But that's not an issue. Don't worry about that. If you've let your people go, you can bring them back.
Because we know that a lot of folks were in the situation prior to knowing that there was going to be a program like this available, and so made decisions independent of that. So that was something that was anticipated when the program was put together. So let me try again. Do we have an operator?
This is Denise. I've gone ahead and I've joined. Diane must have lost her connection. Let me go ahead and get your next party open.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Up next is Robert Gatland. Your line is open.
Hey, Robert.
All right, thank you very much. Hey, did I hear correctly that you said that some loans have been issued under the PPP program already last Friday, or was that just the opening of the application process?
That was the start of the application process. So that means the applications have been processed, and what we're waiting for now is for those applications to close and for funds to be dispersed. So what's that?
I was going to ask, any idea of when those funds might be dispersed? We were able to apply on Friday, and I'm kind of wondering when the funds might be available to us.
Well, some have already been dispersed. In fact, one of the first nonprofits that went through were Big Brother, Big Sister of America. I'm probably saying that a little bit wrong because I've read so much lately. But yeah, some funds. We're actually, obviously, we're trying to tell people this works, and so we're actively out there collecting some of the stories. But yeah, there are organizations and small businesses that are starting to receive money, and it just depends on what lending institution you're going through right now. Some are still having questions about our process because it's brand new. A lot of that is just we're working hard with Treasury and our Office of Capital Access, and we anticipate that once we kind of answer a lot of the questions our lenders still have, and they're being answered quickly, that we'll start seeing that money really flow.
Okay, well, thank you. We're a small business in Snohomish County. This is going to help us out quite a bit. We've been working with Bank of America, who's been working very well with us so far.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the Congresswoman, I understand there might be a COVID-4 package at the legislative level. Do you have any comments on that or what it might include?
Yes, we have been having conversations about the next piece of legislation. Those conversations are started and would include things like making sure that we have resources for programs that are working. If we know that timeframes are going to stretch out, we want to make sure those resources stretch out over a period of time too. So that is something we are actively talking about, I know, in the House, to not only address some issues that we've seen, but also to provide resources based on what we've learned from these programs too. So that will be something that we're talking about at the House level. We've talked about trying to have something, the Speaker has talked about having something by the end of the month, but clearly that is going to need to be a joint effort between the House, the Senate, and the President for us to get something across the finish line. So we'll continue to provide information and keep you updated. And your feedback to us is also helpful, so we can make sure we address issues that weren't addressed in the current pieces of legislation. This is the CARES Act is the third piece of legislation. We had two before that. And so everything we learn from you helps us be better informed going forward. Again, if you have a question, press *1 because some folks might have gotten dropped off from the last time. So I just want to make sure people have that.
I was just going to say thank you for all your work in getting this legislation through very quickly. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are you ready for the next question?
Yes.
The next question comes from Pete Zerbees. Your line is open.
Hi, Pete.
Yeah. Hello. I'm trying to navigate the whole in terms of like the reforgivable piece. Here's where we're at. We basically don't have much reserves. We have 11 people fully staffed. We've already let go of 8 of those. But if this is intended to be an 8-week, so we're supposed to stay solvent for 8 weeks, right? So 8 weeks worth of salary. I've seen a lot of things online that say how you're going to gauge that is anybody that you've let go from February 15th. You have to rehire by June 30th. But if we rehire now, that 8 weeks will be up before June 30th. So it will appear as if most of this will not be unforgivable. So how am I supposed to read that? What guidance would you give knowing that we've already let go 8/11ths of our staff?
Right. So this is how you should read it. This is for businesses that were in existence before February 15th. You could have opened up, February 15th, and you'd be available for PPP loans. So that application period for the PPP will go through June 30th. Okay. So you're going to be just fine. You're going to get those 8 weeks of the PPP, and obviously that is so that that gives us 8 weeks, right? And that's a lot of data that we can accumulate in 8 weeks so that Congress and the White House and all of our healthcare professionals can say, all right, we've lowered that bell curve and we can start thinking about what other policy decisions that we need to make at the federal and state and local levels to either starting up businesses again or saying, oh, we still need to stay sequestered based on the data. This 8 weeks buys us a lot of information, and that's what we need to make really good policy decisions.
Absolutely.
No,
that is part of what we were talking about when we talk about a next package, is to make sure that we take this information into account, understand where we're at, to understand whether NORA resources need to be applied, or to address timeframes like you're bringing up.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is I hired the people back to today. So I mean we don't really have a month's worth of reserves. So if I hire people back today and don't get the funds for another week or two, we're in a dire situation. So I mean, what would you recommend the course of action be in terms of hiring people back? And then obviously, again, my concern is by June 30th, I will have to lay everybody off again because we don't have reserves. Is that still going to be forgivable?
So this is what I recommend. You apply for the package and you email or contact all of your employees to let them know that you've applied for the PP. And once you get those funds, you hire them back immediately so that they can start getting a salary again. And that's what you do. You can't pay them before you have any money. That's not what this is for. But just let your people know that you've applied for the PPP. You'll let them know as soon as you receive those funds so they can start receiving paychecks again and benefits, and so they can buy groceries and stay healthy and be at home and pay their mortgages.
Okay, so and then the forgivable piece, because the 8 weeks, let's just assume that, so we applied for this Friday right away when it opened. If we do get funds this week, the 8 weeks will be the second week of June. That'll be before June 30th. How does that forgivable piece work then?
As long as you've used at least 75% of the loan for your payroll, and only 25, and less than 25% is for mortgage and lease and utilities, it will be forgiven. It will be through an IRS form. You'll show how these processes or how these funds were used. Okay. And then based on your use, it can be fully forgiven.
Great. Yeah, there's a lot of bad guidance out there. Then I think a lot of people have just said what you guys are going to do is basically take a snapshot of that head count at June 30th, and that made no sense to me, because I would want to hire people back then May 1st instead of now.
Sure.
Thank you. Operator, do we have another question?
Yes, we do. We have a question from Jennifer Rana. Your line is now open.
Hi, Jennifer.
Thank you. Hi. Okay, so my question is can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We applied on March 31st, and I did use the streamlined online application. I specifically would like the EIDL loan for us. I did not opt for the 10 grand, one, because I need a lot more, and two, I had heard it could slow down the processing of that EIDL, but I haven't gotten any kind of, even an automated email confirmation or anything. What is the next step, and what should I expect? Am I going to be contacted by a lender? What's next for someone in my situation that's hoping to obtain one of the low-interest loans?
Did you happen to take a screenshot of your loan number or the application number?
I have my OMB control number.
Okay, very good. So if you haven't heard anything back and you're still wondering, I'm going to repeat the customer service center number, the 1-800-659-2955, or the disaster customer service at SBA.gov. If you applied after that, you should be in the system. So take a deep breath there. But those are there to help us to verify for you that you have been processed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know we were supposed to end right now, but I wondered if we could get another question. Since we started a little late, I'll try to get a bit more covered here while we can. If we have another question, operator.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Ellen Gampson. Your line is now open.
Hi, Ellen.
Please check your mute button.
Thank you so much. I I'm very appreciative of today's call and all of your work, Congresswoman. And Jeremy, it's lovely to have access to you today. I have some questions with regard to my application on behalf of the 501c3 organization that I manage, the Mount Vernon Downtown Association. I did submit these questions through the disaster customer service email a week ago and have not yet received a response. So I did go ahead and submit the application on behalf of my 501c3 on April 3rd, but I'm still kind of curious about the answers. So the questions I have for a nonprofit is, in this application process, who constitutes the owner or / agent? Is it the executive director? And is the required personal information of that person, such as myself, in this instance, shielded in future Freedom of Information Act requests? And then finally, who is required as the guarantor of the SBA loan if it's granted in the case of a nonprofit?
Those are all really good questions.
Sorry, I rattled them off because I know I'm the last question and that we're going to lose our time here. So.
No, those are good. I've dealt with a lot of questions, but I haven't gotten that one yet, which is really surprising to me because that's pretty basic information for a nonprofit. Same process. If we can get your contact information so that I have your information,
sure,
I'll get it at the right spot.
Great, thank you.
Well, we'll make sure we'll make sure Morgan has the information and Morgan can pass it on.
Okay, great. I appreciate that so much.
Morgan from my Mount Vernon office.
Okay. Yeah, I can
reach
out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Morgan says she's on it. Okay, let's see if we have one more, operator.
All right. We do have a question from Sean Quinn. Your line is now open.
Hey, Sean.
Hello? Hello?
Your line is open, sir.
Sean?
Hello?
Yeah, you're going to have to talk louder. We can't really hear you very well.
I think you lost me. Do you have me?
There. That sounds fine.
Okay. Hi. I'm asking about with the PPP, is there going to be taxes on that? Do I need to ask for an amount that would include paying of income tax on that, or is that going to be tax-free?
It's a forgivable loan. It'll be salary, so it will be subject to, the taxes.
It will be subject to taxes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we might have to close because we only have line too long, and I'm already taking more of Jeremy's time than I signed up for. Jeremy, first I just want to say thank you to you for all of your time and for joining us. And I know there are other questions that folks have. So one, we have up on my website at delbene.house.gov information that you can look at for small businesses, our small business guide. If you happen to join the call late, we're going to post this recording online so that folks can hear some of the things at the beginning because there might be information that's helpful. We know that this is fluid too, as we talked about before, and so as we have updates, we'll continue to make sure we get those up on the website and in our resource guide. But thank you so much for participating, getting your questions in, and as you have more questions too, feel free to reach out to my office and we'll try to get you directed to the best resources possible. I want to thank SBA Regional Administrator Jeremy Field for joining us and for answering questions and taking his time. And again, go to my website, delbene.house.gov, for our small business guide. You can also find other resources on Small Business Administrator's website, sba.gov. So thanks again for all of your time joining us today. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks.
This concludes today's conference call. Thank you for participating. You may disconnect at this time.
Thank you.